Rounding out the our last technical session talk here, we have Sarah Knopp, and she is a policy specialist at Amigos Bravos, a statewide organization focused on protecting New Mexico's water resources. Sarah specializes in the environmental impacts of energy and mineral extraction, bringing a policy lens that connects water quality, land use, and long-term resource stewardship. She's also pursuing a PhD in American Studies at UNM, where her research focuses on the water energy finance nexus. Ooh, that's very cool. Never heard that one before. Adding an important social and economic context to the technical discussion around water. And so when she's not working on state policy, Sarah is often outdoors, elk hunting, swimming, riding New Mexico trails on horseback, or enjoying all things cumbia. Okay. So, sorry. Do you want the mic?
Okay, thanks everyone. Hi, good afternoon. I can try to be quick to make up some time. And because hopefully what I wanted to talk about here today really piggybacks off where the conversation left off, which is pilot projects. So I have been in a number of fora lately where I have heard people, in particular, some operators who maybe haven't read through the current NMAC rule that took effect in May of 2025, thinking that the current rule that we have on the books doesn't really allow for the science to happen around pilot projects. And our perspective is that there's a very clear pathway, according to the current rules, for pilot projects to happen at any volume agreed to by the state and the operators. So at the risk of being, I just have two kind of short regulatory points that I think will possibly be uniting points on which people in this room, whether environmental groups or operators, could agree about a couple of things. And the first one, so I just wanted to show people so this is New Mexico Administrative Code, Title 20.6.8. This is the rule that took effect in May of 2025. And at the risk of being a little boring, I actually wanted to read a couple of sections of the rule because I think they will help people think about how to negotiate the pilot project process. And I did make, I have a bunch of the rule up here. I assume it's really hard to see. I have some people in this room helped write the rule. Other people are in charge of implementing it. Some of you know the rule really well, but I'll give these to Zach. I did make 15 copies of the relevant section of the rule in case anyone wants to follow along. Authorized pilot projects. The pilot project, I'll read it off my paper. The pilot project shall be designed to provide information specific to untreated produced water quality, treatment technologies, treated produced water quality, treatment volumes, and toxicity studies for potential produced water reuse applications. And again, I'm sorry I only made 15 copies of the rule. I assume some people are here far more familiar with it than I am. So I wanted to highlight Section C. This is not the complete rule. This is the 3 relevant pages that govern pilot projects. And I think for the question and answer section of this, I'm going to have to refer to the agency people who are in the room, not to put them on the spot. But again, I wanted to talk about this just because in several of the places that I've been lately, I've heard in the Water Quality Control Commission, for example, I've heard people say we can't do the science with this current rule. But I think the rule is actually pretty good at outlining how the science could be done. So in Section C, which is on page 8, if you have the paper, applications for pilot projects, and it goes through like 10 or 11 things that you have to submit if you're intending to do a pilot project. I wanted to highlight a couple of them. Number 3, the concentration of water contaminants in the untreated produced water used in the pilot project, the daily quantity of produced water in the pilot project, no volume limits, you just have to specify. Number 5, the pilot project research plan and objectives. Number 7, I'm just picking a few to highlight. Number 7, the storage, secondary contaminant, and spill prevention methods that will be used to prevent accidental discharges. Number 8, transportation plans. Number 9, plans for safe handling, characterization, and proper disposal. Number 10, plans to minimize any risk of human exposure to produced water via an exposure pathway. And Dan was just talking about what is pertinent to number 11, financial assurance, so that we're sure that the state, that taxpayers aren't left on the hook for uncleaned abandoned facilities and proposed locations. So just a few things that would be included in an application. Following a determination that the application is administratively complete, the applicant and the department shall proceed with a further public notice and participation requirements set out in that code. We as environmental groups particularly appreciate those public participation requirements. And then the part that I have highlighted here, in the permit, it shall provide a daily maximum produced water capacity and the term of any pilot project, but the rule doesn't specify what those limits might be. And again, agency people, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. I'm trying to just read it so that people are aware of it. Okay, data reporting requirements I think are important because it goes really directly to what people were talking about here about ELGs. Industry wants ELGs, environmental groups want ELGs so that we know that the water is safe. So if you look at letter A here, persons implementing pilot projects shall submit to the department all research results, including lab analysis of water contaminants in the untreated produced water and treated produced water, to assist the department in developing standards and assist the commission. So this is the part that speaks to the ELG component. To assist the department in developing standards and assist the commission in promulgation of regulations for the use of treated produced water in a manner that prevents water pollution and protects human health and the environment. So the purpose of this rule is to help come up with those ELGs based on pilot studies. And I think that's all I want to go over about this rule. Again, from an environmental perspective, we do think when we look at this, we're in favor of, as Dan was explaining, we're in favor of the science, we're in favor of pilot projects. We think that the current rule that's on the books now does provide a pathway for doing that. So I just want to make, in the last couple of minutes, possibly one more point about the regulatory climate in New Mexico. One of the concerns that we have as environmental groups, and Dan talked about this, oops, I think my last slide got cut off. It's okay, it's not. This is the website on the OCD where they talk about, you can get, it's called the Water Use Report Summary. And from our read of the OCD statistics on this, and Dan called this the low-hanging fruit, only about 55% of the water used in downhole operations now is recycled produced water. And we know that some operators are operating at a much higher percentage than that. And we think that low-hanging fruit here would be that we would hope that operators would be able to get that percentage up much higher. So when we're talking about protecting and conserving fresh water, a low-hanging, we know that this doesn't solve all the problems, but a low-hanging fruit would be to use a much higher percentage of recycled produced water in downhole operations. So, and we think that's probably a point of view that we could share with industry. So those are just a couple of regulatory points that I wanted to bring up here. Thank you.
I was just curious what was included in the last statistic you gave us when you say down whole use, what applications you're including. Because it surprised me because I think the state is recycling for completion fluid about over 75% now is based on either produced water, brackish water. So we got the fresh water way down. So I didn't know what applications you're referring to.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that the slide with the actual stats got cut off. It's really easy to Google like OCD water reuse report, but I thought I saw someone from the OCD here. So I wonder if that person could comment more decisively than myself. Yeah.
in oil and gas, for completions, for projects, for drilling, for pretty much everything. Where we're seeing a little bit of a lack in that, that would be reflected in your data, is areas that are very remote. Sometimes it's not possible to get, you're looking at trucking in produced water, and that's not always the most feasible. And so you do see fresh water being utilized in a lot of those kind of situations, but we've changed our numbers quite a bit. And as of January 1st, we are also revamping how some of this data is coming in. Before this, we were looking at spreadsheets and manual entry. And so the new data may actually be more accurate to reflect that as we kind of get that new data system launched.